Go. Wait.
Good morning. I am
Hey,
Ro with
Ro.
I am Ro with Chatting with Chap, and today I have Maria on with us, and I've invited Maria on to talk about her journey. But I'm gonna give her a second to introduce, and then I'll tell you why I wanted Maria on. But Maria, I want to show you real quick because it's not showing. I wore my mom's shirt just for this, and it's like not showing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna have my thing down. I'm like, I have a mom shirt on.
I love the mom shirts.
How are you,
That's
love?
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ro. It's so fun to talk with you, to continue our conversation or to start a new conversation, and however this takes us today. But it's just such a joy and an honor, truly, to talk with you about our little bit of our homeschool journey and how I feel impassioned to really help other moms. Just it's not scary. It's really a beautiful, beautiful journey if you can step into it. So my story, actually, all I've ever wanted to be is a wife, a mom, and a teacher. Bam. So
Yes.
check, check, check. I'm so blessed to do all three. Um, so then usually when people ask about our story with homeschool, I start with COVID happened and we
Mhm.
jumped in and we turned around. And it wasn't until someone, it may actually have been you in our conversation, that brought me to another epiphany about this journey and how it really did start a very long time ago. I was a public school teacher for 13 years. And through my teaching education, my first love was the kids, and that I just absolutely was built and made for teaching and just loved it. And it was in my single Pringle days, so I could really dive in and spend all my time in there. And it was beautiful. And as I continue to learn about what teaching is and what learning is and education, my natural draw was to the parents, how to teach the parents to kind of bridge that gap between public school and me that wasn't doing it for a 15-minute parent teacher conference. So another teacher friend and myself had the same philosophy and the same drive and passion. So we would take like a traveling road show in a bucket in a big container to our homes with our kids and teach the parents with the child right there the tools that we were using. Because if not, it's not the same language. We can be teaching things to the children, the parents, and it's all this kind of lost in translation. Um, so I wanted to bridge the gap and teach the parents what I had learned through teaching to share it with them, because the kid is the common party in this equation. So as we did that, in retrospect, looking back on it, that may have been the beginning seeds of homeschool in my story,
Yeah.
because not knowing it, I also brought together the families within their different homes because of scheduling, because it got to be where nights and weekends I was at kids' homes doing all this. And I
Oh,
thought if I could combine it, it would not only help with scheduling, it would also help the families build community.
community. Yeah.
So we found ourselves very similar to the world that I live in now with, can you bring some muffins? Can you bring some coffee?
Mhm.
Can these four families meet up here with the kids? So in essence, we were having our own little extension, our homeschool community built right there, because it was so apparent to me what was missing. And this was a win-win-win, help, help, help situation, mostly for
Yeah.
the kids, the family, myself. We're accountable for these children and how they progress. So it just, until my homeschool journey, actually until a recent conversation, I'm not sure I put that all together, but that's been my drive, my passion, my excitement in what at that time I thought was education. But through jumping in at COVID, everything changed. My
Yeah.
outlook on what is education, what
Hmm.
is teaching, what is learning. It has been a road of really, really cool, exciting aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's blown my mind as to what the definition, what my definition, what my understanding of education versus schooling is, and how education can be so beautiful and not life zapping, but life
Yeah.
giving.
Yeah.
And it done in the home, it's been a true blessing. So, really, what you and I had started talking about is I get to do this. And
Mm.
I get to do this because it's my husband and mine, it's our joint value. It's what we want to do with these kids and for these kids. And in the end, you know what, Ro? It's fun.
Yeah.
I have learned so much. I've regained my education.
Absolutely.
So then I was teaching in public school, then had babies, then went back. My children, with all this love of doing what I did, I still, which is mind blowing to me, what we do as moms, I still felt ill equipped
Hmm. Yeah.
to do it myself.
Yeah.
So they went off to school, a great community school. Up until COVID, we were in first grade, fourth grade, and sixth grade. And a couple days, literally before the world shut down, I was substituting in my middle daughter's class, and it was in a fourth grade classroom. And I had this vision, and I'll never forget it, of candles going out. And I thought, that's my kid and so many others, through
Mm.
no fault of the teacher at all. We had a beautiful school community. Their hands were tied. There was so much stress. And these kids that had so much to offer others, it was the candles were going out.
Oh my gosh.
And then the world stopped.
Yeah.
And then I wanted I call them my little ducklings at the time. I think, like all us mamas, you too, is probably, it's just you want your babies close to you. You didn't know what was happening in the world around. And I thought, this is my chance to
Mhm.
jump in and teach them, be with them at a time following what our schedule wasn't allowing us to do. I was scurried, I was frantic, I was running, I was checking the boxes, I was signing the papers, I was PTA fundraising mom. I was a frantic mess,
Yeah.
running,
Yeah.
running. And so the decision, we started with what I called Formal's Academy of Excellence of Success, I think it was. And it was our idea of what was bringing school home. I did
Mm.
announcements and all this. And I was like, oh, now is when we're going to learn about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And we're going to dive into Bible study together. And we're going to do mind building activities that I would have always loved to do with them. We're going to learn more American history. We're going to memorize poetry. But I didn't equate this ever to homeschool. It was just what I
Mm.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then how it all played out. And my husband, like so many others, families, were at home. And I remember clearly sitting around the table doing my thing with the kids. And he was the first one actually that said, would you ever consider homeschooling? And me, the ex-educator, enjoying that moment with my kids, still was like, no, no. And he would ask why. And he wasn't he didn't know a lot about homeschooling, as I
Yeah.
did either. And it was he that said, would you ever consider this? What they've learned around that table in 10 minutes blows my mind.
Mm.
And it wasn't the learning. And it's been such a journey. It's not what they're learning, it's how to learn, how to
Mm.
be together and have fun doing it. So that's kind of the long version. So here we are 4 years later, and
I
we do
love it.
homeschooling with the community, and it's great.
And tell us really quickly how old your children are.
Rocco is 11. Giada is almost on the peak of 14. So she's 14, and Sophia is our oldest, and she is 15.
Awesome. So what you shared when you started talking about how beautiful it is and the mindset shift of I get to do this. It's not, oh, I have to do this. I get to do this. This is what drew me so much to you. So for people listening, you're seeing our interaction and you probably thought we've been friends forever. We literally met like a week ago. And we were at a conference. We were at CHAP's midwinter conference with Building Faith Families. And I think maybe my baby drew you in, but we were just saying hi
That
to each
baby.
other, right? And like normally when people see a baby, they're like, oh, the baby's so yummy, the baby's so sweet. But your comments were more centered around, wow, aren't you so happy that you have this baby? And you know, you talk more about like the privilege and the beauty of having a baby, where a lot of times people will see a baby, be like, oh, yeah, the baby's so cute. I bet you're not getting any sleep. Oh, the baby's so yummy. I bet this, right? Like they'll say whatever the negative part of that journey is. And you made that comment, and I was like, huh, I thought about it. And in all honesty, I was convicted because there's sometimes not condemned. I didn't feel judged. I wasn't offended, but I was convicted because there were times when I focused on the parts of the things that I thought that I had to do. Like I had to stay up. I had to wake up every hour, every 2 hours, whatever that newborn or infant journey is. But
Sure.
you saying that really made me think, wow, there are tons of people who would have done anything to have a baby. There are people who spend thousands of dollars to have a baby. And here I am thinking about the 1 hour, 2 hours that I'm missing. And like I've heard people say the days are long, but the years are short. Really, that idea of just enjoy the process right now because you're gonna be in a different phase so quickly. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, the nights are long too, right? But a lot of times we don't realize the privilege we have and we think about the sacrifice versus looking at that same sacrifice as either an investment or privilege. So when you said that to me, I'm like, I need to get her on the show because there's something that I don't know, or there's something I know that you're reminding me of. And either way, I needed to know more. And then that same day, like hours later, probably, yeah, hours later, you came to me and you said, wow, you're going to get to homeschool this age. And I was like, wow, I never thought of that because my boys are 7 and 9. And then here I am with this 11-month-old, and I've never done home-centered education that young. I've only been in the game 2, 3 years, right? And when I got pregnant with my son, I was like, oh, I got to teach him how to read. Like instead of
Of
thinking
course,
like
yeah.
you're saying, instead of thinking about the beauty and all the things you get to do, I was thinking about things I have to do. And I wanted to put myself out there because I know there are other people who feel the weight of the blessing. It is a
Mm.
blessing. It comes with, I don't want to say sacrifice. It comes with, I don't want to say price either. It comes with the opportunity, right? Like a lot of this is character development for me. A lot of this is me being tested in patience and endurance. And I want to stop rambling and give you a time to speak because I want to hear more about like this beautiful journey that you talk about and how you shifted your mindset to savor this versus to look at it as something that you have to do. I think it's beautiful. So I need to pause so you can speak.
Thank you, Rose, so much. That means a lot that that interaction stuck with you because I felt the same connection with you. And I truly felt that's why I laughed with my friend Sarah, who we have mutual friends, my dear, dear best friend. And she, I lost my train of thought.
Something about the interaction and Sarah.
Yes. Just about how, when I go home from these homeschool conferences, I want to have another baby. And they were laughing and saying, oh, well, you can hold a lot of babies here. I said, no, I don't mean it in that sense. I said, I'm enjoying the age of my kids now. So I'm not, that's okay that they're not babies. But the desire to homeschool from the get-go, to be able to rest in it, let the gas off, and jump in and really get to do life, get to do education, get to learn with them. And
Yeah.
that's a whole different mindset, a whole different thought process. It really is like I'm looking at education really with a whole new set of
Mhm.
glasses.
Yeah. So if you see me keep moving, it's because I'm typing, and the reason for that is mommy brain. I don't remember exactly what I want to say, so I typed it, and that means two things. One, it means that the fact that I can remember that interaction, it really stuck with me. Ask me what I wore yesterday. I have no idea, but I remember our interaction because it was so powerful. So what I just typed is the word whole because I finally put my finger on what it is. You see a child as a person, and you see them for their whole being. A lot of times as homeschool moms, we see a mind. Oh, there goes my mind that I need to teach. There goes this is my job. I have a job to do, which is to give them information, which is different from education. And you're seeing a person, you're seeing an individual, you're seeing a whole being,
Mm.
which means this is not about home. This is not about school. This is not about bringing school to your home. This is about doing life together. And I remember even calling it like that. I was calling it home-centered education. I was calling it world schooling because I'm like, it wasn't just about school. It wasn't just about giving them a bunch of facts and information. It was about doing life together. And that's what you represent me to. That's what you remind me of, why we even did this. It's about doing life together. Oh my gosh, Maria, you are so beautiful.
And
Thank you so much.
oh, thank you, Ro. It's just the privilege, the honor, and you said what word to put on it. It is a weight, it is a responsibility. These are citizens of our future. And
Yeah.
this is not something to take, oh, lightly. We're just doing school and we'll just, oh, sing your alphabet and then we're done.
Right.
It's really getting to the core of what true life skills we want to impart on these kids too. And why is that not valued as high? Time management, getting along with
Mhm.
others, public
Financial
speaking,
literacy.
sharing, financial literacy, home economics, all these things. Um, there are a million skills that we're so busy in the schooling, in the subjects that we cannot even address at
Yeah.
the end of a tired day. Um, and what you mentioned about thinking and checking off the boxes, I wrote down here in my kind of quiet, settling reflection that prepping a little bit for this allowed me to do. I said, what are my stresses? Like, what are the stresses
Mhm.
that most moms feel when they are homeschooling? Because it's a blessing, it's wonderful, but it's not all pretty. It's not all a walk in the roses. It's not without its tears and its heartache and its frustrations. But what really set for me was what my stresses were. And my hope is to allow other parents that may have never thought about homeschooling or are just starting to, paddle around in it. And the
Mhm.
thought is my most stressful moments are when self-doubt creep in.
Mm.
I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough.
Mm.
All these kids are doing this. We should be this. We should be this. That stresses me out.
Mm.
When I get in my own way, tell myself these lies, listen to lies. Mm-mm. I mean, the fact that I remember standing at my kitchen sink when Sarah Collins was doing homeschool. And here I, again, a former educator.
Yeah.
And I said, look at what you're doing with your kids. This is before COVID, before our world switched. And she said, and I'll never forget it. She said, you can do this too. And I remember saying, no,
Yeah.
no, I can't.
Hmm.
And what a disservice. I feel like I was going against the path that I feel like I was supposed to be on,
Hmm.
and a disservice to myself and my kids. And when I forgot what education is, and when
Hmm.
I let the school mindset prevail and talk louder than what I knew in my heart, and how, and people have heard this in the homeschool world a lot, is God does not call the equipped. he equips the
Equips the
call.
call. Yeah.
And if you lean into that and you trust it more than just saying, I trust,
Mm-hmm.
you're surrounded by people that are of the same mindset, are of the same drive, are of the same excitement for connecting. And
Yeah.
kids feel that. So we're not just checking off boxes. That's the management of the traditional school. They're forced to do that for so many reasons. But
Yeah.
when I was driving one day and I was feeling so frustrated and saying, I don't want to be making all these decisions for my kids. I'm tired. I'm
Mm.
sick of being the captain of my ship in this response. And I look back and I hate even thinking that I felt that way.
No, we need the
But I
balance.
really
Tell us.
felt like just this anxiety of the weight of it. And I remember it was like God jerked me up at the stoplight. And he's like, you're not. I am the captain of this. And
Mm.
it's
It's
shifted.
liberated.
Liberating. Yes. The freedom of it that comes with doing this whole homeschool thing and the freedom of this isn't all me. This comes from a place of goodness, of want for my kids
Yeah.
to be a little part of shaping their heart and their minds. And I get to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm not alone.
Yeah. Oh
God's
my
the
gosh.
captain. The
Yeah.
community is the captain. You are our co-captains. And
Yeah.
how fun. Do you not agree that when you meet other families that have jumped into homeschool, they're fun. They're fun. They're interesting.
Yeah.
You can get beyond black backsplash talk, I call it. I love a good backsplash as much as the next person. Wish I had one. Um, um, but you get into the depth, and life is short, and there's so many connections to be made. So that's what makes me stressful when I listen to all those lies. And when
And
I
you nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Lies. Lies that we believe, myths, because what we forget, like even when you said to me, you get to, you know, nurture this baby from the beginning. Nurture, that I get, but teach, we forget that we are not only their first teachers and their primary teachers, but their best teacher. When I see my 11-month-old, I don't say, let me grab this curriculum and show you the color red. I'm like, oh, red, bird. And we're using that classical organic method of teaching our
Mm,
children, right? We're always their first teachers. We're the ones who did things without the curriculum, without the book, just naturally. And then all of a sudden, society has taught us, okay, now they got to this age, you can't do it anymore. You're not good enough. Turn them over. And I'm not bashing public school. My point is, we have adopted a mindset or a lie that tells us that we're not good enough after a certain age. We can't do this. We're ill-equipped. Imagine you were a certified teacher. You were teaching kids for 13 years and you were great at what you did, but you didn't feel equipped enough to teach your own children. A lot of these lies that we're told are an attack on our identity. And then some of the stresses we feel, you illuminated for me that it's character development, right? So when something happens at my table or wherever we're learning, it's something I need to deal with, whether it's patience, what's that frustration coming from, right? Like you talked about the self-doubt and all these different feelings. Those are things we need to deal with. So it's like this is a mirror. We need to look in
mm,
the mirror and realize if we're getting frustrated about something, it's probably not the kids. You know, once in a while you may hear people may say the kids were goofing off or they were doing this, but what is it about that interaction that's triggering you? This is
trigger.
our own
Yes,
self-development, right? It's
big
not
time.
them.
And
It's
these
not.
babies, they see it. These kiddos see it.
Yeah.
I
And we have
mean,
to
do I want
model.
to learn like this?
Yeah.
No, like they
Yeah.
get the best days. And my husband's,
Yeah.
he said once when I was heading out, I was directing our uh, classical conversations co-op
Community. Yeah.
community class. And I would get all stressed out and have everything ready. And one day he looked at me when I was leaving. It was so monumental at that time. And it really jerked me up. And he looked at me and he said, have fun. And I was like, hmm, huh.
Mindset shift.
I didn't put that on my list.
Yeah.
And it
It was
was
checkbox, checkbox,
so
checkbox.
simple. Yes, it was, I've got to do this, this, and this. But that's that traditional, and I'm like you, it's not a bash of the public school. It is a traditional model that goes
Yeah.
against, to me, it goes against nature. That
Mm.
said, you are your child's first teacher, and are what as a society says that we can't. You're right. We taught them not with flashcards how to speak.
Right.
I mean, kids put together words and language and emotive abilities to connect with other people.
And we didn't go to school for that as parents. We did not get that in the hospital.
No, no, it's when you brought them home.
Yeah.
And then you're right. Then all of a sudden we're supposed to give them back. There's so many riches that come from, and homeschooling is not easy. And there are sacrifices. So it does sound, because I believe it in my core, it is a blessing. But I understand that there's so many hurdles to
Yeah.
overcome to make this decision.
Yeah. You want to
But
level
with
set because it's not toxic positivity of, oh, rainbow sprinkles. We want to, give a balanced view.
absolutely, and it's hard. Um, but one mother said something like, "Is it expensive to homeschool?" Like I said, and I felt this, and I know this because my husband laughs at me and my love of libraries. But if you have a library card and time,
Hmm. It doesn't
and
have
if
to
you
be.
feel like you have to check off a workbook box, there's a Dollar Tree. There's YouTube,
Yeah. Principles. Yeah.
principles, virtue, morality. What you
Oh, yeah. That too.
what
But I
mark of
said
your
principles.
family? Yes. What mark of your family you want to leave on your kids, with your kids?
Hmm.
And how is that even logically, how does that happen when they're gone for 6 hours a day?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
we're
can't.
not at home. I mean, are you at home all the time, every day,
No,
Ro?
ma'am.
Are you at home with those kids all day, every day at the chalkboard, at the whiteboard? Homeschool is not, we're not home a whole lot.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Do you think? But yours are
Yeah.
still kind of little, but
Oh, we're out.
yes, there's so many opportunities. And so why isn't that considered education?
Yeah.
How many interactions with other people, not just their peer age group?
Yeah.
How many interactions? How many problems are they and you solving together?
Yeah.
When you all take your three little ones and watching your sons take care of your little one, that was striking to me. With such, they had such this quiet pride,
Mhm.
and little baby had just enough room to move during the talks. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. And that's not an accident. That doesn't just happen.
Mhm.
So I want you to know that. Like, that
Thank
was
you.
striking about you from our first interaction.
Thank you.
And so that's why we get to do this. And
Yeah.
it's not easy, but what is anything worthwhile? What is, like I say, it's that's another definition that's been clarified. I said, I've been more restful,
Mhm.
and not restful like sleeping
Not
in. I
sleep,
get up
but
much
peace.
earlier, at peace. What am
Yeah.
I restful in? I'm restful in the feast my kids get to chew on to learn these skills.
Yeah.
Not that they know the presidents, not that they know states and capitals. That's a beautiful byproduct, but they're learning discipline. They're learning chopping up skills into small amounts. Um, there is rest in knowing I know what they're learning.
Hmm.
They get older, and I become a lead learner.
Yeah.
I'm learning things like Latin, like biology that I struggled with. Like, I'm learning with them.
Alongside them. Yeah.
Yes. Is that not beautiful?
It
It's
is.
like I told my husband before we jumped into this, when I was trying to convince him of the program we wanted to use, the community aspect, I said, oh, we're going to get 4 tuitions for the price of 3. And he said, how do you, what? I said, I'm going to learn so much. And
Aw.
it's reignited my love of learning. And I get to
Absolutely.
do that with my kids.
Yes. You know, one of the things you said, I want to bring it back up and then give you the last few minutes to share like any final thoughts or like what you want everyone to know. But I have to say that one of the reasons public school and moms like me try to do all the worksheets and all the tests is because if you can't quantify it, you can't measure it. So when you
Mm,
talked about the interactions and all those things that they're learning without paper and pen, without you giving them a test, we don't find the security in that. And I want to
mm,
say that. So for any mom or any dad who's constantly stressing about did they learn something, just being in their presence every day, they're learning something good or bad,
mm.
right? You may be modeling impatience, right? They're still learning
Right.
something. But I think that's an issue. If you have 20, 30, 40 kids in a class, there's no way you even have the bandwidth to see what a person knows just by like narration or storytelling. You literally have to give them paper and pen and then grade it. And it's not a real reflection of what they know. Think of an interview. I'm talking to you, and this is so natural for me. I may go into a job interview, and you'll never know I have a personality. I'm like, yes, like I'm, so stoic. That's not a real interaction. It's not a great, but that's the only way to do it. Who has time to go to dinner with me for 3 times and see how I really am? My
Right.
point in saying that is if we're only trying to quantify and test, assess, that's not what this is about. I was so surprised yesterday when after being with my kids all day, working with them, doing all the stuff, at night they came to me and they wanted to hang out with me. And I'm like, we've been together all day, but it's the relationship that we're
Mm.
building. That's what it is to do life. It's not just a time at the table. It's not just a time reading aloud. It's, do your kids like you? Do you like your kids? Because love is different. Like it's a different thing. But I said I wasn't going to say so much in it. I'm going to give you the time back.
But especially as they get older, I'm just so grateful. Like, yes. And again, this is not dispelling the teenage moods and the all, I mean, that's just life, but you're learning to do it together.
Yeah.
And I like my kids. I do. I like spending time with them. In fact, last night I was writing and taking my notes and being retrospective, and just it was a real gift that being on this today allowed me just to kind of sit back and let me think about what is going on here. But I also looked down and I thought all of my notes are of what I see homeschooling is.
Okay.
Valid. I'm part of this big equation. But I thought, wait a minute, I want to see what my kids say more than just in the car. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, oh, we have the freedom to do this. And you wouldn't have learned this, all this, but really to see. So the first one I grabbed was Rocco, the 11-year-old boy. And let me tell you, the insight and the wisdom from this very active young man blew me away. And I know him and I spend every day with him, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens. And I highlighted a couple, I was writing what he was saying. And I wished, and I shared it with my husband today. And he said, I wish you would have recorded it. I said, I know, but I didn't want to take away from the moment.
Yeah.
But I, he just was comparing. He's only went to public school until first grade. And that was it. But his mindset still is there's no movement. I would go to the bathroom and I would leave and I'd go, Mom, for 5 minutes because I just wanted to move. Um, he said yesterday, he said, I got to make a prototype of a Lego yo-yo. Um, and he said the first one I failed miserably, but I had time to rebuild it and to do
Mm,
it the way, and now it works and all this. And I asked him what his best parts of homeschool are. And he said family, snacks, freedom, card games, and field trips that are more fun. And
That sounds
there's,
like my boys.
because the world is, you're in it and
Yeah.
you have nothing that stops you. And he said, if one I did, and again, it's not a bash on public school. It's just there's so many kids in there. But he said we had to save our conversation until lunchtime.
Mm.
And then at lunchtime, they would turn off the lights and we'd have to be quiet for 15 minutes so we could eat first. But again, I get that. You've got all these kids, if they're
I didn't know
all
that.
this, they're not going to eat. I get it because of the numbers. And he said, but by then, everything I was supposed to remember to have a conversation about, I forgot. And I thought, wow. And I'm just writing and listening. And he
And
said,
then people ding us and say, but what about socialization? Is that socialization? I digress. Keep going.
I digress. I digress a lot. Yes, within your peers of the same age.
Yeah.
And he said, school means time off from your family, outside, and friends. He said boundary, his
Get an
vocabulary was
equation.
just like listening. And he said he had an analogy of cars. He took the index cards and he's like, it's like this, there's two cars, and if this car gets in a rut, this car has to keep on going, and what happens to this one? It can't catch up. I mean, it was just all this in his very short, he's got other ones, but I won't go out through this, but it's just, they get it.
Yeah,
They get it.
they do. They do. And they
And
see the
it's,
difference. And even for kids who have never experienced something else, whether it's like Christian school, private school, public school, they still see the benefit and they still see the value. And it feels normal to them to be with their family and to be in their homes.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a blessing. And I just want moms to know, Ro, that there's so much community, there's so much help, there's so many resources. If if I would just want families just to look at it, just to see. It's just a passion I have been blessed to have. I don't know how else to say it, but
I love it.
it's a
Tell me one of
beautiful,
those resources.
pardon me.
Tell me one of those resources.
There's actually, I didn't know about this, but through the CHAP homeschool conference where we met,
Yeah.
they have a mentor program. I just signed up for it, and they match new homeschool moms, and maybe ones that are already started or thinking about starting with other homeschool moms that have been on the journey and are on the journey. So you can really build a specific relationship with them. So I'm excited to be matched up with a mom new to the scene of homeschooling. It's a wonderful, wonderful, that's a great service. And there's lots of, I say
Yeah.
to people, you almost have to bury yourself under a rock and put more rocks on top of it
To not know.
to not to not know the resources out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a click away, it's a conversation away, it's everywhere, and it's a vibrant, is it not?
I love it. Yeah.
It's a
very
vibrant community of
Yeah.
humans. It
Thank you
really
so
is.
much for sharing that.
Outside the box thinkers too. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to do it this way. We can do it this way. And thank God we have the freedom
And the flexibility. Yeah.
and the flexibility. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So you asked yesterday if I could give like bits of advice. Do I have time for just a
Sure.
couple bullets? I wrote down breathe, breathe, rest.
Mm.
Rest in the goodness and the beauty
Mm.
that you get to bring into your home, to expose your child to expose you to. Be excited to be a lead learner Isn't that not freeing, like we talked about before,
Right.
to I don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to know everything. Like
We get
it's
to learn
not,
together. Yeah.
we're doing it together. And
Hmm.
how cool. And you turn into, as the kids get older, a real resource director. You're not a pro at Shakespeare. You're not a pro at chemistry or Latin or debate or mock trial or any of these things. But you get to learn all these
Right.
things that you may not have learned before. And you get to direct your kids to the right resources. You get to outsource to other people. You can bargain. Hey, I'll watch
Yeah.
your kids for a little bit. You love math. You love this curriculum we're using. How about bartering
Yeah.
for tutoring? I want my kids to learn that from you because you have the real math mind and the passion for that. The sky's the limit.
Yeah. All right. So we
And
have
you're
breathe,
not
we have
boxed in
rest
by
and
anything.
learn. What else?
Pardon me?
We have breathe, rest, and learn.
I like that. And go to conferences.
Okay. Yes. CHAP convention, June this year,
Yes.
2024. Awesome. Maria, I could spend all day just talking to you and having you share. We definitely have to do this again because there's so many things that
Let's.
you brought up that are like, oh, we need to talk about that too. But I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing. Normally when I interview, I'm like, I don't know what the topic should be unless I'm like asking for a specific thing, but you use the word beauty so much. This has to be like the beauty of homeschooling or the, finding the beauty because it's there, but you have to find it. You have to look for it. So thank you so much for sharing with us and telling us how to find that beauty that exists and reminding us that we need to breathe, we need to rest, and then we just need to learn together. You are a gift, and I just thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ro. Can't wait to see you again and talk again.
Yes, my pleasure.
All right.